Ladies and gentlemen, America's first baby boomer and most recent retiree, Kathy Casey Kirschling. Congratulations.
It was great.
Over the next 2 decades, Social Security expects that nearly 80 million Americans will file for retirement.
Between the years 1946 and 1964, the American population exploded with those who were proudly dubbed the baby boomers. After World War II, everybody was enjoying the new prosperity. These were men and women who would reject and redefine traditional values and change the course of the planet itself, and there is no doubt they did just that. Now we have reached a real turning point for these boomers, where for many it's become a daily grind just to survive, especially in the midst of changing medical treatment, insurance, politics, and in the end, money. Let's welcome back to Midpoint, Newsmax Deputy Health Editor and co-author of the new book, The Baby Boomer Survival Guide. Live, prosper, and thrive in your retirement. Nick Tate joins us in the studio. All right, Nick, let's start out with the bad news here, because I hold in my hot little hands right here the big headline that comes out of Forbes. The greatest retirement crisis in American history. I don't think that's underplaying it.
I think that's exactly right. It's not getting enough attention, in fact. The truth is that only 1 in 4 boomers has saved enough for retirement. About 26% will completely exhaust their savings and their assets in end-of-life health care costs. And with 10,000 boomers turning 65 every day, those numbers are only going to increase. So this is a crisis for this country of major proportions, and I think millions of boomers are going to be caught flat-footed unless they make a plan.
Well, that was going to be my next question here, because again, you have people who are in the exact position that you just talked about here. You've got people that are facing inadequate savings, out-of-pocket medical costs, long-term care, the turning of 65. They don't have enough money. What do you do?
Well, you start, first of all, with getting your financial house in order. I think a lot of people are afraid of finances. They're afraid of numbers. But in fact, spending a little time figuring out some of the basic concepts of financing, compound interest, inflation, these are really important. Once you get a grounding in the basics, you have to establish a sound savings plan. It can be conservative, T-bills, savings bills, notes, bonds. But you have to have a plan. And, you know, the big advice we give is to work as long as possible so you can delay collecting Social Security. If you collect Social Security at age 62 when you first become eligible, it's about $1,200 a month. If you wait until you're 66, it's $1,600. And if you wait until age 70, you can save make tens of thousands of dollars more over the period of time. The bottom line here is a generation ago, we expected that we would die sooner. Thanks to medical technology, we're living longer, and the boomers are likely to live longer than any other prior generation.
I plan on living forever, my friend.
And,
so there you go.
And youthfully, you know, when you think about your parents' generation, when they retired, they felt like old people. I don't think the boomers are going to feel like old. We keep redefining old as later and later and later years. So you have to make sure you have enough money. So getting your financial house in order is obviously rule number 1.
Something that caught me in that list that we just put up. Risky and conservative investments, if you will. Most people, however, don't know what a risky investment is or a conservative investment is because they usually say, go out and talk to a broker. Well, they're not going to go out and talk to anybody. How do they tell the difference?
Well, you know, in general, safer investments include things like savings accounts, T-bills, notes, bonds. If you have a little money and you want to take a little bit of a risk, you can go with the stock market, and you know, there's no guarantee there, but if you look at the rates over the last 20 years, I think the average return on stocks is about 7%. So if you have a little money to play with, if you have a little time to play with, you might want to diversify. If you're really confused, if you're somebody who just can't calculate, you know, your financial needs, that's a good time to see a specialist. But some of the stuff you can kind of figure out on your own. But the key thing is becoming a savvy consumer, and of course, one of the recommendations we would make is read books to learn more, follow financial newsletters and financial media reports so you can become grounded.
I got to tell you something, watching that video right now, and as I talk to my parents, the people that I know who are older at this point, what they're afraid of is the health care itself, because the more that I talk to, they're claiming we're not getting good health care. Let's put the cost aside for a moment. They're getting doctors who half the time don't know what they're doing, don't know what they're looking at, don't know what they're giving them. And I can tell you stories of people who say that, how am I supposed to think about living longer when I don't trust the people that I'm putting my health care into. That in itself is frightening, and there's nothing we can do about it seems.
Well, I would argue that there's nothing we can do about it. Now, there are certainly changes in the healthcare system that are coming. Obamacare is a big mover there. There are changes in Medicare. Talk to anyone who's been on Medicare, and they will complain that their costs are going up and their doctor choices are becoming limited. So, again, here, this is a case where you must be a savvy consumer. We're no longer in the era of Dr. Marcus Welby, where you just basically went to one doctor for your whole life, and he told you or she told you what you should do. You have to become a savvy consumer, so you're picking a good doctor, that your health plan covers everything you need to, and is affordable. A lot of folks are confused by terms like co-insurance, out-of-pocket limits, co-pays. Premiums are not the only thing, and this book, I hope, provides a guidebook to walk folks through the whole idea of navigating the changes in healthcare, which are significant. And you know, you really have to be savvy not only about your investments, but your financial spending on healthcare, because those percentages are increasing as we get older.
Well, what you just said there, I think, is part of the process here. People need to be able to read something and look at something that is basically put out there in plain and simple English that tells them this is what you do, this is how you do it. It is that roadmap. And people still have to educate themselves. You've got to do something. It's not handed to you anymore.
That's right. I mean, what I will tell you is this. I've been covering healthcare for almost 30 years as a career journalist, and my hope was to distill what I've learned in that time by talking to experts who are far smarter than I in ways that I can understand. And I've tried to translate that information from a healthcare standpoint for the readers of this book. Barbara Rockefeller, who's the co-author, has deep financial expertise, and half of the book is finances and half of the book is healthcare. Her half of the book on finances is there is sound arguments in solid science and grounding for arguments that she makes, but she's also somewhat unconventional in the recommendations she makes, which I think can really help you to get another perspective. So our goal is really to kind of take and distill what we've learned in our careers and present it in a way that makes it easy to understand. I hope demystifies the process of financial investments and healthcare and living well.
And in 15 seconds, what you and I are always talking about every week, one thing we didn't mention here is if you are not trying to live a healthy lifestyle, you are playing Russian roulette with your life.
That's right. If you're fiscally healthy and physically unhealthy, what's the point? So there are a range of tips and strategies we recommend for living well and living long.
All right, and as far as recommending, we want to point out to everybody once again, the book is called The Da Vinci's Baby Boomer Survival Guide. Live, prosper, and thrive in retirement. We talk about it here. We will always talk about it when Nick Tate joins us here on Midpoint. He is the co-author of the book. Always my friend.
Thank you,
Good
sir.
job. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
We'll have the healthy smoothie after the show.
Works for
That'll
me.
be good. There you go, brother. I knew you'd say that. Other side of the break, we speak about survival of another kind. American banks believing they cannot survive if they remain under brutal attack. And others who believe the current banking system doesn't deserve to survive. Bulls, bears, bucks, and all that when we return right here on Midpoint.